we have to expand or elaborate on what that consultation should look like, absolutely, we should be talking to the rest of the communities within the Robinson Superior Treaty area.
Should the federal government be involved now?
The federal government, I encourage all levels of government to be a part of this. And, you know, when we talk about treaty discussions and the assertion of treaty rights, treaty is nation to nation. You know, treaty trumps policy, treaty trumps law, treaty trumps government legislation. So at this point, I think even right from the get-go, you know, when you're talking about having treaty discussions, those treaty discussions need to be made with the highest level of government and authority within the nation of Canada. So how that unfolds, I'm not entirely sure, but what I can say is generally from the get-go, you want to ensure you have all parties at the table so that everybody's making sound decisions and that it's representative of exactly what those needs are going to be and what those discussions look like.
How receptive was Horizon to that message that you delivered today?
Not so much. I mean, they ended up leaving right off in the beginning of the meeting, and that's fine, so be it. Again, it's a voluntary decision. I think the discussions today were a preliminary dialogue as to, again, reassertion of treaty jurisdiction and treaty rights, but also, again, to reiterate the necessity in consultation accommodation and what that needs to look like. And it's the community of Fort William First Nation who dictates that. Nobody else. It's nobody else's agenda. It's Fort William First Nation. This is the lands that it's impacting, and unfortunately, those impact the greater community of Fort William and Thunder Bay.
Horizon Wind already started preliminary cutting of roads up on the mountain. How is that affecting Fort William's First Nation to date?
Any kind of development or any kind of harvesting or logging or clear cutting is going to impact regardless, right? And right now, given the events of our hunting, we have our hunting rights and jurisdiction, we have fishing, we have snaring, we have trapping, we have ceremonies that are being conducted. As a matter of fact, there's a ceremony being conducted today, a 4-day fire. So those are neither here nor there. They're there, and they're a reality. Those are the ceremonies that we conduct within those lands and on that territory. And when there's clear cutting, it disrupts the integrity of the spiritual sensitivity around those areas. And if that's hard for people to understand, then so be it. But at the same time, we have our duty as not only First Nation people, but as a community to say, wait a minute, these ceremonies take place. We also have hunters that are out there right now hunting for their families and for the rest of the community. So when those events are taking place, there's a safety issue. But it's also how or who has the authority and the right to come in and say, you can't hunt there anymore. You've been hunting there for generations and hundreds of years, but no longer will that be. And you have no rights to hunt there anymore.
And the community is landlocked, and the mountain cap is the last space, according to Fort William First Nation, to have traditional practice space. If this project is approved, what will that mean for your community?
Well, again, it jeopardizes the integrity of our spirituality, our cultural practices, and our traditional values as a community. But not only as our community, I got to really stress that you know, their spiritual practices and ceremonies that are conducted from nations all over Turtle Island. That's all of North America. So that needs to be brought up to the forefront as well, and that when we sit here and we reiterate the integrity of these lands and the spiritual intent and the treaty obligation and rights there, it's not just on behalf of Fort William, and that's getting back to the comment I was making before, in that we're here with this rights-based agenda on behalf of Fort William, but also on behalf of our nations across North America, and saying, hold up, you know, these types of activities, this type of development will seriously impact and impede any kind of further spiritual gathering that could possibly happen again in that territory.